G'day, guys. This is Jay here from Australia with the koalas, the kangaroos that live in my backyard. You know that. This is the 1111 Spiritual Transit Podcast and Journey of a Whitefeather. And of course, I love my interviews. And I've got a lovely lady well, she's in Mexico at the moment, but she's originally from Boston. Her name's Grace Talamante. I got that right. What a lovely name. And she is the owner of Elevator Spot. Now, Elevate Spot. I better get that right. Now, He's lovely to have you on board, Grace, and we're looking forward to hearing your story. You've sent me some topics. I can't wait to hear all about you. I mean, you've look like you've done a lot in your life. Look like what you're doing is really great for the community, for yourself, and for the spiritual community on a whole, I guess, isn't it? So, thank you very much for coming on board a chat with Jay. And look, we're going to start off right now. Let's hear from you.
Thank you,
Welcome to
Jay.
welcome to the show. Off you go.
Yeah, lovely to be here. Yeah, so my name is Grace, and my whole journey kicked off back in 2016.
That's
After
not
going,
that's not far off, is it? It's only been
it
7 years.
is,
It's amazing.
yeah, it
Yeah, cool.
was a long time ago. Yeah, I was a very different person when that started. Working in actually healthcare administration.
Okay.
Um, out in California. And I always say I was helping people pass away peacefully. And deep down, I knew that there was more. And so now my whole goal and my journey is to help people wake up and come to life um,
That's an
and be able to
amazing.
live
That's amazing. I was
fully.
just going to say, I was an undertaker. Well, I was working for the undertakers, and I was picking up the bodies, and I could hear what you're saying because when they ask how did you cope, I go, look, when I went there, I gave people peace and dignity when they passed on. So that's pretty similar to what you're saying. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's definitely a lot of peace there. And it's a wonderful place to be. Um, However, I knew deep down inside there was more, and
Yep.
that, people didn't always have to go down that path. And
Yep.
so that's really my passion and my mission is to tell people that they don't have to accept chronic illness. They don't have to accept labels of dis-ease. And people don't need to pass away. So yeah, we do have power in our hands. We do have the ability to heal. Our body is so intelligent, and these labels and these concepts are really what confine us and keep us
Can
prisoners.
I ask you some of the disease? That's really interesting that you say that because I think Wayne Dyer. I mean, you probably listen to a lot of Wayne Dyer. That's where I got the power of forgiveness. I think it's the power of the mind. I can't remember the
Power of
exact
now.
power now. Is it? Is that the one? He uses that. He actually does a whole chapter on that one. So that's really interesting. What's your so your philosophy is to do that, and you've got that disease definition within your head. How do you uh, how did you help yourself, and how are you going to use that to help others? Did you hear me there?
Oh, now I can. You're cutting out a little
Fantastic.
bit.
Sorry, that's okay. No worries. So, how did you use the word disease, understanding exactly what it meant in your healing process and in the healing of others?
Yeah. So just to kind of go back to 2016 when my life changed, I came down with a handful of debilitating symptoms and was propelled into the medical system of going doctor to doctor, and searching for an answer. And I found myself in a very helpless state, of relying upon each appointment that you had to go to and relying upon the doctor to, save you or give you information or discover what's actually wrong with you. And I learned pretty quickly that was not a good state to be in. And so, yeah, so to fast forward, so the disease labels that they had given me, and now I understand it as, lower frequency state in my body, subconscious beliefs that were there that, really needed to be dealt with, that were creating physical
Shadows,
blockages. And they,
shadow self as
yeah,
well.
yes, yeah, emotional, yeah, shadow
Yeah,
stuff, emotional blockages. And
absolutely.
and those emotional blockages become physical. So it gets kind of confusing because they're, you are dealing with real physical things, but the power is not in trying to figure out what it is, but how to reverse back and make sure you're living the most healthy life. And when you do that, meaning healthy emotional development
Physical.
and work,
Mm.
yep, you can reverse. So to circle back to your question, what were you asking me specifically? How
Well,
I understand?
yeah, probably because we cut out the word disease. After you understood exactly what that meant, and you probably answered that now with emotional. Um, how did you get to a point of starting your journey, I guess, and then coming to the realization this information needs to be given to others? How did you come to the point where you're sitting
Yeah,
now, telling me where,
it was a long
telling me,
process.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
it's about a 5-year journey, and so it
yep,
was step by step. And so,
yep,
I was sitting there, but at the end of all of it, meaning all of the diagnoses and the labels of Lyme disease or
okay,
epilepsy or chronic fatigue
wow,
syndrome or IgM, immune system deficiency. I had all these labels.
mm,
Um, and sitting in the IV room, that's when I had the aha moment, when I'm sitting next to somebody getting a treatment, and I just happened to ask, "How long have you been treating for, Lyme disease?" And she said, "Oh, it's been 10 years now." And I just, this is my first year in, and I just said, "Oh no, I can't go down this path. This is not where I'm going." So it was
wow,
then I
okay,
started to say, okay, I need to start looking elsewhere. And this is using functional medicine, which I think functional medicine can be wonderful and so helpful. But I also think that we can go deeper than that. And I think that that still can create a little bit of a reliance on someone else outside of you to do the healing.
yep.
And so the aha moment happened really when I was introduced to a frequency device. It's a pulse specific frequency combined with biofeedback, and it's very, very specific to each individual. So when that happened and I started using this device, it ignited something in me that was not there before.
So you technically raise your vibration and your frequency just during that, eh?
Right, exactly. And I had no idea. Again, very Western lens. I was running a dementia care community.
Yep.
And so this was all very new. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know I was actually raising my vibration. Um,
Could I
and
ask
and
you? Sorry to cut you off. Could I ask you that aha moment you had? Do you think that was the trigger for then you opening yourself? Because I believe that you brought things or things are brought to you when you're ready or when you come to a point. So if you hadn't had that aha moment, you might not have got this frequency vibration device. With it, do you believe in that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that when you start using frequency more, things start coming to you. It's magnetic. And so
Hmm.
that's how my journey really sparked off was the more I used it, the more I started getting these gentle whispers.
Yep.
Oh, why don't you look into this herb? Or I think it's time to go sit outside. I need the sun. Or I need to go sit on the
So your
grass.
intuition's really coming. You're really channeling from the universe into your heart, grounding yourself. That's awesome. Sorry, it's
Yeah.
very interesting. Very
No,
cool. Very
no,
cool.
you clearly understand. Yeah. And so for me, of course, it's like, what is happening to me? I'm listening to something that I have never, really fully connected to. So yeah, so it was that. And then it was just a beautiful flame being ignited and growing and growing. And so
What
I
color was the
started,
flame?
I would say it
You
was.
know where I'm going. You know where I'm going with
Yes, I
this.
know where you're going. And I want to keep in mind, I want you to keep in mind too, I never fully went, so to say I went traditional in a lot of this healing work is not true. It was more of like I was just kind of naively going about it. So, no understanding what Reiki was, no understanding what a lot of these consciousness teachers were. It was just like a natural process that just really started happening. Um, and so then I still wanted to learn some of the science of it. And as I learned this whole consciousness talk, there is actual science to it. And so that took me down a whole nother path of trying to understand that, okay, if we really are a frequency, it's not just woo woo, there is actual science behind it. And we do have, our cells can be measured by millivoltage.
You got frequency and vibration. I just said while you were talking, I sent you a copy. Or you probably already seen it. The Inner Segal book of the secret language of your body. You probably know that one.
I actually don't.
That's the book. You need that book. All right. You need to
Okay.
get that. You need to get that book. All right. If you've got anything
Okay.
from this chat,
Thank you.
so the stuff that you've been talking about, I thought about, you were saying about understanding disease in the body and different disease. You were talking about Lyme disease and all that stuff is connected to our inner subconscious and our shadow work and all that stuff that we've all have within us. And that book, trust me on that, it'll be a Bible for you. Sorry to interrupt. I had to tell you that.
No, I'm glad you shared. That sounds wonderful. Yeah, and so that's the interesting thing that started happening is the things that started happening naturally to me, I started finding out are actually a thing.
Yep.
So meaning like I would sit down, all of a sudden I'd feel like I need to spend time with myself and I'm going to give myself a self massage. And I would start massaging certain areas that I was drawn to.
So when
And
did
then
you
I would
start having these thoughts? Like, you had that connection after the vibration healing. Would that be back in 2016, was it? Or
So 2016, 17, and 18, I was stuck, really just treatment to treatment, doing
yeah,
antibiotics,
okay.
doing
Yep.
IVs. 2018 is
18,
when
sorry, yeah.
I actually did try the device in 2017 three
Yep.
times, but I didn't purchase it until 2018.
When it was
So
time. Yeah, cool.
so it was almost like in 2017, I had this whisper, buy the machine, buy the machine. And I was like, everyone thought I was crazy. You've only tried this a few times. You're going to buy it. And I just knew like deeply inside
Awesome.
me that I had to
Love it.
get it.
Love
Yeah.
it.
So, and
Love it.
again, my consciousness was so unaware. I didn't fully grasp that, but something in me knew to trust that.
Awesome.
And I think it's because of my, my spiritual faith and, my connection to God
Yep.
previously before all of this and just,
Yep.
knowing that God works through me and,
Yep.
does have a way. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, cool.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I mean, there's a
So
number of,
sorry, no,
go
I was just
ahead.
dropping out. Sorry, it's just dropping out a little bit. Sorry, I apologize.
Oh, yeah, no worries. That's all me over here in Mexico.
Oh, I might be here
Um,
too. So yeah, so you got to see you found yourself with that. You found this new intuition, and you found you're understanding your body from an internal point of view, from a spiritual point of view. Where'd you go from there?
Yeah, so then it was just letting it flow, letting it happen. And really, I think I started saying, I would be like, okay, I would have a lot of solitude. So during that time, I was not able to work and I
Right,
was home and I really physically was not able to go outside and walk too much because that was
right,
just the limitation at the time. So there was a beautiful gift in that because I was alone with myself, with my thoughts, and with God. And so during that process, that's when I feel like the most healing could happen because I could
right.
really hear all the guidance so clearly. There was no distraction.
Cool.
And so I would find myself every night having a ritual. Well, that was my healing time. That was my
Okay.
time where I would sit down on the living room floor and with a pad of paper and I would see what comes to me. And so sometimes
Right.
it was
Okay.
information. Yep. Sometimes it was information, and other times it was, let me just like physically touch my body and
Hmm.
see what comes in. And I found, okay, sometimes I was doing a massage and I would, take out oil and I would start massaging certain areas. And I would feel as I put my hands on certain areas, I would feel the tension or the blockage or the tightness. And then right after that would come the emotion. And all of a sudden I'm feeling, okay, I feel like I need to cry. What's in there? I'm going to
Wow.
start massaging in there a little bit deeper. And then words would come out like betrayal or just the thought that my body's been working so hard, I need to thank it. So then I would start thanking that part of my body for
Geez, you're really
working.
connected, aren't you? Gee, that's awesome. That's really
Yeah,
good. And
and it's
the interesting, the really good bit. I know I'm a bit of a, I've got so much stuff going. I'm really impressed the way that you've really gone right within and just that routine. I'm a Cancer, so I'm structured. Um, So that routine's amazing. And it's such an early part of your spiritual growth too. It's amazing.
Yeah, so this is where I say, for my belief is that it was all God guiding me and
Yep.
allowing me to really connect with myself, because the other part of the healing was lots of prayer. So I would have my time in prayer and
Yep.
worship,
Yep.
and then it would be healing. So it'd be prayer, worship, and then healing. And during
Okay.
that time, I was just flooded with information coming to me,
Awesome.
which yeah, which was my safety and my hope during that time. So yeah, so that was a piece of it. And then during the day, because again, I was determined. I said, I am not going to live like this. Right now, it feels like I'm stuck like this, but that's that an overachiever in me, right? That probably got me ill in the first place was, work, work, work. But I just said there's got to be a way. So during the day, so there was the action part during the evening. During the day, I would spend a lot of time either going to appointments to help heal, or learning and studying. And so that's when I would, start really just diving into, okay, let me understand about frequency, electrons. Let me learn more about the machine, and I would work on the machine. And so yeah,
You really did. You really did some. Yeah, you really did some self education. There's a lot of things we did during that time of life that we were locked down. Let's be honest. And I think we all found ourselves, especially us. I call us white lighters. If you were, that's just my term for it. That we really went in and really looked at. There's a lot of videos on YouTube and a lot of stuff a lot of information that we found that's very, very great for our education and our higher being, and I tapped into that as well. So I'm really resonating what you're saying. What I want to ask you, I'm a teacher by trade. How do you? This is just a random question. You can get back on. How do you um, work in the real world, or how did you work in the real world, knowing that you had this spiritual path or this spiritual, so it's the spiritual path that you had discovered, but you still have to live in this air in this world. I know, lucky enough, I mean, I was a teacher that time, so I had my own time and whatever else, but it was still that time where we had to sort of balance between our 5D and 3D, if you want to call it, our two selves, if you get where I'm going. How did you do that? Because it looks like you really dug really deep to get information.
Oh yeah. So you mean after I was well and back
Yeah,
into
that's right. Yeah, when you sort
yeah,
of start,
okay, for sure.
I guess it's like Dorothy slowly starting on the path of the yellow brick road. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, and so, coming out of it, because I got well in 2020, and
Okay.
then COVID hit.
Yep. COVID hit. Yep.
So it was interesting. That was that period of isolation again, right?
Mm.
And I was like, oh, I got this. I know how to be alone. I'm totally fine. So actually coming out of it, I know this sounds a little odd, but I almost felt like it gave me time to catch up to everyone, because there is that social.
Agree. Agree. I get you. I totally get you.
Yeah, so that really allowed me to kind of integrate back into the world, because that's another whole process,
It is,
is
isn't
like,
it?
oh yeah, you can feel very disconnected from people when you've come from that
Absolutely.
lens and that's all you've been doing for years.
Yep.
So fast forwarding it,
Do you feel disconnected a little bit in some ways? Do you feel like, I know myself, because I attract to a certain vibration with people the way I am now, and I still get on with everyone. I got my band group and I got my friend, but socially we really feel. I know intuitively, where the way I am, I really feel other people's energy, because I know what's happening astrologically and spiritually in the world with regards to the egos of people coming out and us growing spiritually. Really, you can see the growth, you can see the white light around you. Um, and do you find it hard to sort of not hard, but do you see the difference between, I guess, us and them? I shouldn't really say that, but you know what? If you know where I'm going.
yeah. So okay, so there came a point where it was so challenging for me to connect with people, and this is where
Mm.
I had to make a choice, because I would look at, and this is a lot to say. So I would
No,
look
keep
at each
going.
person and I could see their wound clearly, and I
Yes.
could see what they were doing in their life to cause that wound and to
Right.
continue that cycle.
Agree.
And
Keep going.
yeah, and so I felt there was like So there are multiple things. So in my personal life, I had to kind of weed out certain, what energies I did want to have in my life and gravitate more to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Frequency based.
Yeah, but then I had to decide, okay, how can I just so with my faith, I follow Christ. So with
Yep.
my faith, I had to say, okay, I have to look at this from a Christ perspective.
Okay.
Christ came down to connect with the people, meet them where they are. So I said, all right, how can I just come from my heart more and try to meet them where they are? But the vibration can feel like, there's sorrow, there's lots of pain, right? And so we know that we have to find a way to help elevate people and move them through that.
Without
So
letting
that,
it decrease us as well. Remember that's where I think a lot of
yes,
it's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Like because we've got our own journeys and our own, I'll say demons for the sake of it,
yeah,
um, or our own challenges within our subconscious and our shadow, which I work a lot, as I said, I work a lot with other people. We've still got to, we're still growing and healing that as well as healing others. It's very, very hard because we're all givers. I think you're
yeah.
sort of, I can see you're understanding where I'm coming from.
So boundaries are important, holding space, but holding your frequency high enough. So that means holding that light and maybe saying the things that people don't want to hear sometimes. But yeah, holding that space. And that's where sometimes people, when you're suffering, sometimes you just want people to say, I'm so sorry, and just sympathize with you. That's what
Yep.
people really sometimes just want.
Some people want
But
that, yeah, exactly. But then, in case, then when I go with that, I got to be careful you don't go into victim mode because I was doing that.
yes,
I was playing the victim. I didn't realize it, but I was looking for sympathy because of a subconscious and a shadow and the shadow that I had been when I was a kid. So I understand that. But becoming as a white lighter as you do, and what you're saying is exactly what we're thinking, is giving that love to as much people as we can, but without taking from us, and also keeping ourselves elevating at all times.
and so I call it a gentle push of love.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
absolutely,
working
yes.
with people because what we do at Elevate Spa is we have practitioners and we work hands-on with them with the
Right.
machine. And so we have an hour with them. And with an hour, the machine is releasing stuff and we have a whole conversation. But there's a vibe, right? As that machine's going, there is a release, there is a vibe. So if we feel, all right, it's been 2, 3 weeks, we're still stuck, it looks like we're kind of stuck on that victim mode, then we have that responsibility to gently and kindly push them along and bring it to their awareness. Okay, so what are we going to, you are going to need to take this next step. And so that's my whole philosophy. It may be a little bit different than other healers. I know there's a lot of healers that helped me along my journey that were just there for me, right, in that moment. But my whole method is we kind of push a little bit. So we're loving, we're kind, but we do
Take
see
away,
like,
take. You got to take responsibility, and I mean that's what we're on a very similar path. It's getting people to be aware of what we've become aware of in ourselves and the skills that we've got. You've got the machines, I've got the shadow, and all the I call it the bat belt of gifts, if you want to call it that way. That we can assist people in when they become aware, because it's very scary to become aware, isn't it?
oh yeah, yeah. There's different phases of it, and
Yes,
especially now in the world right now, there's a lot going on, a lot of
it
energy
is.
shifting, a lot of people waking up, and then they find out, and oh, what do I do with this, right? And
Mm.
and of course, fear can be the first thing that will come up, especially in the beginning stages.
And
So
this
yeah, I think
and
it's
Yeah, sorry, you dropped out a bit.
no, no,
Sorry.
go ahead, no, go ahead.
No, no, it's all right. You dropped out. Go for it. Sorry, my thing's
Um,
playing up a little bit too. Keep
but,
going.
but yeah, I feel a lot of passion about what you were saying about, not allowing people to stay in that victim mode because the reality, and I know personally, because for a few years I was stuck in the victim mode. I was. And I know there's
Agreed.
that, there is that process of getting out of it. And it's ugly. You have to look at some ugly emotions and you have to,
It's such a scary thing, isn't it, Grace? Like we've been through, like the physical diseases or physical ailments that come in with us, and we don't realize. And then sometimes we realize that we didn't realize we were going through it. I knew I was going through it when I was a kid, from the ages of 0 to 18. It's one of those things. I could see the the deja vu in some ways. My friend Ira always says from Peru, she says there's always deja vu in what it is, but to be a great person and really have the strength, the inner Hercules strength in some ways, which we've got, to get out and actually, it does take it does take some strength to actually say, look, I need help, and I'm aware of this stuff now. What the blazes do I do with it? You know?
Right, right. And at the end of the day, nobody wants to suffer. Nobody wants to be stuck. So if you're coming to us, we're going to show you love, but we're going to help move you along. We're going to give you the tools, but ultimately you are the only one that can really move yourself. So, if we're telling you things that you don't want to hear and we're placing things in your consciousness that maybe, kind of waking things up a little bit, then you'll thank us later.
Absolutely. So we've got about 5 minutes to go on this part one.
Okay.
What we will do is we will cut now and we'll start part two. Part two, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be all about Elevate Spot. We're going to find out a bit more about what Grace has started, and such an interesting talk. You can see two people from different parts of society. We all go through the same thing, but we all got our different journeys, and we all come out there, and it's amazing that I've met this lady and all the people that I do interview. So we will be back in a couple of minutes with regards to part two. All Grace's details will be along the bottom of the screen, so you can contact her direct and you'll be able to have a chat to her. Grace will be back in a couple of minutes for part
Wonderful.
two, and we'll see you then.